Our story begins in the Chancellor's office as Anakin is covering his eyes from the lightning spraying through the office. A moment that was over a decade in the making was finally here, as Anakin was being forced to choose between Jedi and Sith, light or dark, and Mace Windu could feel the conflict inside of Anakin through the Force. At first, Windu thought the fear he was feeling was coming from Sidious upon his defeat, but now he realized the fear was coming from Anakin himself. Windu didn't understand what Anakin could be afraid of. Peace? The end of the war? It made no sense to him as he continued holding up his lightsaber, blocking the heavy torrents of blue lightning. And through the lightning, as Palpatine was calling out to Anakin for help, Mace realized something else. Palpatine, the Sith Lord controlling the galaxy, is not afraid in this moment because he trusts Anakin Skywalker. He truly believes that Anakin will join him. Mace could see the glowing yellow eyes of the Sith through the lightning, and Mace knew there was only one way this could end. Finally, the lightning would cease, and Sidious fell back weakly, saying he can't hold on any longer. The face full of evil had now become a face of despair and agony, and Mace knew this was all a game. He knew Sidious was too dangerous to be left alive. He knew even if Sidious was arrested, he may still be able to convince Anakin to side with him in the courts. There was simply one way out. And for Anakin, so many years of conflict, tension, confusion, agony, and fear were whispering to him in this moment. Half of these whispers told him to kill Mace Windu, join the Sith, unlock his true power. The other half of these whispers were telling him that Palpatine is evil. The Sith are evil. The best way to protect Padme is by destroying the Sith. Anakin tried so desperately to sort through all of his thoughts to find what he wanted, but it was ripping him apart from the inside out. And then Mace Windu raised his blade. Anakin would act on pure instinct. He barely even realized what he was doing as his own hand reached for his saber, and as Mace Windu swung down, Anakin ignited his own blade, slicing diagonally through Windu's torso. The Jedi Master paused his own swing, gasping in shock, but Anakin didn't stop here. He spun all the way around, and his lightsaber would carve right through Palpatine's neck before he could even realize what was going on. Anakin stumbled backwards, and the last thing Mace Windu would see was Palpatine's head rolling away. In Windu's final moment, he found peace knowing that the Sith were dead. He always told himself he would give his life if it meant ending this war, and in the end, that is what it took. Everything went dark for Windu as he fell next to the window in 2 pieces. Everything would go quiet here, aside from the wind and the rain whipping around outside the broken window. Anakin was numb. He sat still on a console, and his mind flashed back to just seconds ago. 2 Titans of the Force begging for his help, and Anakin chose neither of them. He murdered the leader of the Jedi Council, the leader of the Republic as well. Anxiety began to rise up, replacing the numb feeling inside of him, and Anakin's hands began to shake so much that his lightsaber slipped from his grip. To no one but himself, Anakin asked aloud, "What have I done?" As he began to realize what this looked like. The bodies of Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, Agen Kolar, Mace Windu, and Chancellor Palpatine were lying here, gutted and dismembered. He was the only one left alive. Anakin wasn't sure how much time had passed, but finally, the office doors swung back open, and in ran Commander Fox with a squad of Coruscant Guard clones. Fox looked around, saw 5 bodies, then saw Anakin still alive, and he came to the only possible conclusion. Anakin killed them all. Fox and the clones raised their blasters, and they told Anakin to come with them, or they will be forced to shoot. Anakin held his hands up, saying it's not what it looks like, but Fox didn't care. His duty right now was to bring Anakin in, no matter what. Anakin was backing up towards the window, and then he heard the blasters of the clones charge up to fire. He pulled his blue blade back into his hands, and as Fox and the clones fired, Anakin blocked the shots right into the wall, flipping backwards out of the window. He couldn't surrender. He knew the corruption of the Republic had to run far deeper than just Palpatine himself. For him to build up this web of the Clone Wars would require those like Mas Amedda, Sly Moore, and so many others to be on his side. If Anakin surrendered, he knew he may never be heard from again. He had to help clear his name. So now Anakin was floating through the sky, rain and wind pelting him as he flew down. And in the office, Commander Fox spoke into his comlink, alerting everyone to the situation. Anakin Skywalker is now the most wanted man on Coruscant. When Anakin landed, he was next to an emergency exit, and the door was quickly busted down as 4 of Palpatine's Red Guards would run right through it. Palpatine excused them for the night before the Jedi arrived, and now they were here with a vengeance. Their electrostaffs crackled to life, and Anakin asked them to walk away. Of course, they did not listen. The first one would stab forward, Anakin grabbed his staff, ripped it towards him, and he kicked the guard so hard that his chest plate was shattered. The other three ran in, and Anakin swung his blade, cutting through the forearm of one, blocked the strike from another, and then he pushed forward, slamming two of them into a building. All four were alive, but the fight was over, and Anakin took off into the streets. As Anakin ducked into the alley, things were escalating far quicker than he'd expected. Alarms were beginning to blare. Dozens of LAET gunships were flying around the city with bright lights flashing down, looking for Anakin. And as Anakin entered into the apartment block, he looked at the hundreds of screens scattered all around the city. On every single holo screen, there was a picture of him with a giant "Wanted" written across his face. Anakin tried his best to stay calm. He turned a corner, only to come face to face with Commander Oppo and a squad of 10 501st clones. Oppo and Anakin locked eyes for a moment, and Anakin knew Oppo had to follow orders. He gets it, so he just gave a subtle nod as the clones began firing. So many shots were fired at Anakin as smoke rose up all around them. Oppo put up his fist, waiting for the smoke to clear, but there was no body to be found. Instead, a sewer cap could be seen rattling around, and Oppo told everyone in their comms that Skywalker is in the sewers. Heavy security would leave the streets and move down into the sewers, all while Anakin looked down from a building roof above them. While the clones were firing, he was able to use the Force to rattle the sewer cap, and he dove into a hiding spot behind some crates and then scaled a building. He had a clear path to where he needed to go. And across the city, Padme Amidala was on her balcony, trying to hold back tears as she scanned the city, seeing her husband's face plastered everywhere. She turned to go inside, but inside of her room, she saw a figure diving through the window. Padme grabbed a blaster, aiming, only for it to be Anakin coming out of the shadows. His robes were tattered, hair was even messier than usual, and his eyes looked like he just fought 1,000 different wars. He just stumbled over to her, hugging Padme, saying it's all a big misunderstanding. She breathed a sigh of relief, saying that he didn't kill the Chancellor of the Republic then. Anakin just awkwardly looked away, saying that part is actually true. But, he told her, Palpatine was actually the Sith Lord that the Jedi were looking for. He was the one orchestrating the war. This was good news after all, and Padme would ask Anakin if he grabbed any of the security recordings from the office, or maybe a lightsaber Palpatine was using. Anakin stuttered over his words, saying that he didn't think of taking any proof. He was in a weird state emotionally. He was just hurrying out of the room when the clones came to confront him. Padme tried to say everything will be alright. They need to just get back to the office and find proof before it's too late. But then, the HoloNet screens around Coruscant began to flicker, and a live emergency broadcast of Vice Chair Mas Amedda began to appear. Anakin said he has a bad feeling about this, and Mas Amedda, in a somber tone, told the citizens of the Republic that Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker has assassinated Chancellor Palpatine, along with 4 Jedi, including Jedi Council Master Mace Windu. Amedda said investigations into the cause of this are still underway, but this assassination occurred in a meeting where Palpatine and the Jedi were discussing Palpatine's proclamation to end the war today. Unfortunately, it appears that Anakin was secretly a Separatist agent working to prolong this war. Mas Amedda then assured the citizens of the Republic that Anakin, along with anyone closely tied to him that may have been working with him, will be hunted down. Padme closed her eyes to gather herself. Then she told Anakin that he has to get out of here. She has a ship waiting on a landing pad that is ready to go. She will alert the crew to have it ready. Anakin told Padme to come with him. She is in danger as well, but Padme said she can't. She has to stay here, and she will work to clear his name. She told Anakin that she has to have the baby here on Coruscant as well, as she has enough allies to stay in the Senate. She asked Anakin to trust her, just like she has trusted him so many times before. Anakin turned back to the city to see the security all around, and he knew she was right. For her safety, and for everyone else, he had to get out of here. They shared what could be a final embrace, and Anakin sped off in Padme's speeder towards her landing pad. He was able to blend in with the traffic for just long enough, and as he arrived, the Naboo security held up their blasters, saying they're expecting Padme here, not him. Anakin just held up his lightsaber, telling the crew here it's not worth it, and he was able to climb the ramp. Anakin took off in the Royal Starship, and of course, one of the security members would alert the Coruscant Guard that they've found Anakin. The Jedi Knight flew the starship towards the sky, and appearing behind him were clone starfighters, accessing Anakin's comms to tell him to surrender or they will shoot. Anakin wasn't in a humorous mood at the moment, but he still allowed himself to say that there was no one in the galaxy who could shoot him down. Anakin then used evasive maneuvers to spin around heavy cannon fire, and he had a clear lane to escape the planet. Anakin began punching in coordinates for a random moon to just get out of here, but right before Anakin could pierce the clouds, he turned to his left to see an LAAT gunship flying straight to his blind side. The gunship slammed into the Naboo starfighter, and Anakin was thrown from the pilot's seat, crashing hard into the cockpit wall as the starfighter sputtered out and began to fall to the ground. Across the city, Padme had been watching the chase from her balcony. She saw the LAAT ship slam into Anakin, and she watched in a horrified silence as the damaged Naboo ship fell below the buildings. She closed her eyes, expecting to hear the explosion, but in the final moment, Anakin got back up into the seat, getting to the controls, blasting off back into the sky. Everyone was caught off guard by this, allowing Anakin to blast off into space and make the jump to hyperspace. Only one big problem: every console in this ship was beeping rapidly, including the hyperdrive, but Anakin didn't have time to worry about it. He just made the jump, and as the blue tunnel of hyperspace came into view, Anakin breathed a sigh of relief, only for the beeping to get louder. As the hyperdrive suddenly shut off, Anakin was ripped out of hyperspace, the Naboo ship spinning out of control, and Anakin was sure that he used up all of his luck. At first, he thought he was alone in the middle of nowhere, with a ship being ripped apart, but suddenly, a moon of sorts seemed to appear out of nowhere, and a great white light engulfed Anakin as he closed his eyes, hoping to somehow survive whatever this was. Back on Coruscant, Padme was being ushered into the Senate halls for questioning. It was no secret that she and Anakin were friends, and somehow Anakin took her ship to escape. Her involvement in this was rather obvious, but by this point, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and other Council Jedi had returned to Coruscant. Senators like Bail Organa, Ryo Chuchi, and Mon Mothma were wondering the truth about all of this. Mas Amida would hold a meeting with these Jedi and Senators to tell them that he will be taking over the role of Chancellor in this time of crisis. Palpatine's murder by a Jedi cannot go without consequence, so the entire order must be investigated. Obi-Wan spoke up, saying he would very much like to see the security recordings, along with other evidence from the Chancellor's office. Yoda agreed with this, saying that the Jedi have reason to believe that Palpatine was a Sith Lord, working with Dooku and the Separatists. Mas Amida would scoff at this notion, saying it's preposterous, and these accusations only make the Jedi look more guilty. And unfortunately, Mas Amida said that Anakin seems to have taken the recordings with him, or destroyed them altogether. Through the Force, Yoda and Obi-Wan locked eyes with an agreeing glance. It was obvious that Amida was lying, and soon Amida agreed to let Padme go, considering she was due to have a child any day now. And in the meantime, the Jedi Temple was to be locked down. As the war was coming to a close, all Jedi were to be called back to the temple, as the investigation into the Jedi involvement in Palpatine's murder was set to get underway. Ki-Adi-Mundi tried to protest, saying that 4 of their own were killed in the office. Surely that all points to Palpatine, but Amida just said that those 4 Jedi may have been necessary sacrifices for Anakin's plot. The Jedi were then dismissed. Obi-Wan would tell Yoda they have to do something. They cannot allow Mas Amida to get away with this. Yoda told Obi-Wan to have patience. A Jedi cannot be the one to investigate Mas with everything going on. But perhaps there is a citizen returning to Coruscant who can do what must be done. Ahsoka Tano had just returned to Coruscant with Maul in custody. The former Sith Lord was placed in the highest possible Republic security prison, and Ahsoka was free to go. But first, she would stop at the Jedi Temple, learning all about what happened with Anakin, and Yoda would ask for one more favor. With the Jedi under investigation, they need her, as an independent citizen, to track down Mas Amida, locate the security recordings from Palpatine's office. Only then can the galaxy know the truth and have real peace. Ahsoka agreed to follow him for Anakin, and she didn't waste any time tracking down Mas Amida. Meanwhile, somewhere far across the galaxy, Anakin was back in a familiar place. This was Mortis, and it all felt so different. The pulsing feeling of the Force still surrounded everything here, but there were no more gods. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka witnessed their end just around a year and a half ago, but voices of the past and present remained. Legends say that this was where the Force originated, and as Anakin climbed out of his broken-down Naboo starfighter, he wandered the area, wondering why he was sent here again. And as Anakin walked around, a figure began to manifest itself right in front of him. It was a ghostly figure made up of the light, the dark, and everything in between. It were as if the father, son, daughter, and another figure, even more powerful, had become one, and yet it couldn't fully manifest. This figure told Anakin that he's done it. He's fulfilled the prophecy and brought balance to the Force, and now he must keep the prophecy intact by choosing to stay here on Mortis, becoming the new avatar that keeps everything together. Allow him to merge with this figure. Anakin just awkwardly said he's not meant for this. He has a wife and child to get back to. Anakin turned away, heading back to the Naboo starfighter to try and begin fixing it. But then, this ghostly figure would lash out, using a wave of the Force to throw Anakin hard against the cave wall. The figure hissed, and its form twisted, revealing a woman with a smile etched across her face that gave Anakin a chill. She screamed out that she will not be kept here forever. Soon she will escape. The galaxy will be hers. She lashed out at Anakin once more, but this time, Anakin was ready. This place allowed Anakin to feel the Force unlike anywhere else in the galaxy. It allowed him to feel like the chosen one, and as the ghostly woman lashed out, Anakin used the Force to hold her in place, using a Force pulse to make the ghost figure disappear with a loud screech. She wasn't dead, but Anakin was able to hide her away for now. Whatever she was, Anakin wanted no part of it. He was beyond tired of prophecy and all the Chosen One stuff. All he wanted was to be with his family. He hurried back to the ship, getting to work on repairs. Anakin worked without taking a break, trying to repair the ship, and eventually he felt another presence. Anakin turned, igniting his lightsaber, but it wasn't that woman anymore. It was Qui-Gon, coming to him as a Force ghost. And Qui-Gon told Anakin he has restored the light to this realm for the time being. After the death of the father, the son, and the daughter, the shackles to something dangerous was released into this realm, the one they call the Mother, and she's more dangerous than anything Anakin has ever seen before. Anakin said he understands, and he asked Qui-Gon for help to get out of here. Obviously, seeing Qui-Gon as a ghost was shocking, but this realm could no longer surprise Anakin. The ship was nearly repaired, and Qui-Gon said he will be Anakin's guide out of here. And back on Coruscant, Ahsoka Tano was moving through the vents of the executive building, following Mos Amina through the halls, until Mos entered a room that was heavily sealed. In this room was Slymore and other people that were in Palpatine's inner circle. Mos pulled out a recording from his robes, and he played it for everyone to see. All of them watched Palpatine swing a lightsaber around before spraying Force lightning at the Jedi, and they all watched Anakin cut down Windu and Palpatine. Mos said that the truth of this can never be allowed to escape the room. If the citizens of the galaxy see that Palpatine wielded a red blade like Dooku, then all of them are in trouble. And in the vents, Ahsoka was going to carefully lift the security disc out of here when suddenly a little rat creature snuck up behind her. She tried to shoo it away, but she made a racket, and Mos looked up, asking who's here. Ahsoka sighed, saying it's always the hard way. She dropped out of the vent, lightsabers ignited, and in less than a minute, everyone in here was knocked unconscious from her Force powers. Ahsoka grabbed the disc, and by the time everyone woke up, the disc was in the hands of the senators and the Jedi working against them. As Mos, Slymore, and the others were leaving, they were promptly arrested for trying to cover this up. The people had the truth. Palpatine was working with Dooku to create this war. Anakin walked in on the Jedi fighting Palpatine, and Anakin, seemingly caught in a situation where he didn't truly know what was going on, diffused it by taking down Windu and Palpatine. Yoda and Obi-Wan were greatly disappointed by this, but upon further reviews of the footage, Yoda would see Mace Windu's face in his final moments as he watched Palpatine die. Windu was at peace, a small smile etched on his face as he fell, and Yoda knew his sacrifice was worth it. And out in the galaxy, Anakin would escape Mortis with the repaired ship. In space, Qui-Gon would thank Anakin, and Anakin wasn't sure what he did to be worthy of thanking, but the ghost just faded away, and Anakin was alone. In moments, his comms would light up, and Padme, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka were telling him all about what happened. Obviously, his striking down of Windu wasn't exactly loved by anyone, but Anakin was able to get away without jail time after explaining that he saw Mace committing treason. He didn't know what to choose, so he took them both out. Anakin was asked to take some time away from the Order as they figure everything out. Anakin was perfectly fine with this. He would be with Padme on Coruscant as she gave birth, and his nightmares would die with the Sith. Anakin would be truly happy to have the twins, and Padme would survive all of it. Time would go by as the Jedi and Republic were beginning to reform, and eventually Yoda would visit Anakin on Naboo as he was raising the children. The two of them would talk for a long time, all about Anakin's future, and eventually Anakin would tell Yoda about his time on Mortis at the end of the war. Anakin would mention the ghostly woman, and Yoda would put a hand to his chin, wondering if this was the legend of Abeloth. In old legends, she was rumored to have been entombed by the father, but with his death, it's possible she's finally escaped. Yoda said that the rumor says she can take many forms, but as long as she cannot escape Mortis, she is of no threat to the galaxy. He told Anakin that only he, the Chosen One, would have the power to see her at the stage and actually allow her to leave. Anakin was relieved to hear this. He didn't think she left with him, though everything was good. Yoda would go on to tell Anakin that striking down Mace was a bad choice, but in time, he will be allowed to return to the Order with the twins, if he so chooses. Anakin was grateful for this, and he would spend time with Padme, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Rex, and others as he prepared for the wonderful future with the twins as Jedi by his side. Padme was preparing to become Chancellor. He would be a Jedi again, and the Skywalker name would be one of light rather than darkness. And folks, that is our video for today. Do you want a part 2? Obviously, I included some possible elements where I could do a part 2 with a little Abeloth story. Could be fun. If not, let me know. Whatever. This could easily just be a one-off. I tried to make it so I, can base it on what you guys think and what you guys like. Anyways, this was a fun video to make. I really enjoyed it. It's a concept, there's a million concepts you can do in The Office with Palpatine, Anakin, Windu in that final moment, and I don't think I've seen this one explored, so really tried to pursue this concept, and just kind of make it as best I could. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you want to see next, even if it's a part 2, and I'll see you in the next video.